All right, everybody, welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It's good to be back.
Today, we're going to be looking at something I think a lot of people have probably thought about at some point. You got that tree in your yard,
Yeah.
and you're like, I wonder if I could take care of that myself.
Right.
When to DIY and when to call in the pros when it comes to tree removal. And to help us get into this, we've been looking at an episode of the podcast, Tree Fellers Near Me, hosted by a real expert, a certified arborist. So,
Yeah, this guy really knows his stuff. And what we want to do today is kind of like distill for you.
Right.
Like, okay, at what point does it go from, I can do this to, oh, maybe this is a really bad idea?
right.
Like, when do those alarm bells need to start ringing so you don't end up, with a huge bill or worse, hurt?
Yeah, nobody wants to be in the emergency room because they misjudged a tree.
Exactly.
So I think, a lot of us have probably looked at a tree in our yard and thought, okay, chainsaw, maybe a ladder. I've seen it done on YouTube.
Yeah.
How hard can it be?
Right. It seems so simple.
But the host of Tree Fellers Near Me, he really emphasizes that, that's kind of a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as easy as it looks. There's a real skill to it.
It's an art and a science.
Yeah.
It's not just like, chopping away at wood. There's real mechanics involved in how trees fall and technique in controlling them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is it's easy to think, oh, the tree's just going to fall over there, but there's so many things that can go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he really gets into it. You can damage your property,
Yeah.
your roof, your car.
Yeah.
You can take down power lines. All kinds of stuff can happen.
You can hurt yourself.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the specific things that he talks about that should be like red flags for people.
Yeah, like the warning signs, like, okay, put down the chainsaw, step away,
Yeah,
call somebody who knows what they're doing.
exactly.
So the first one is size.
Coco.
Like, it seems obvious, but sometimes it's good to just, like, really lay it out there. So for you listening right now, think about your house. How tall is that tree compared to your house?
Yeah, or is it wider than your car?
Right, exactly. If you had to lay that tree down,
Yeah.
is it going to be, dwarfing your car?
If it is, you probably shouldn't be messing with it.
That's a good sign that you need to call in a professional, because when you get to trees of that size, it's not just about, oh, there's more wood to cut.
Right.
There's so much weight there,
Yeah.
so much force that as it falls, it can behave unpredictably. It can twist. It can split.
Oh, wow.
You can get something called kickback, which is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds bad.
It's bad. And this is where the pros, they have, special equipment like cranes,
Right.
and they use these elaborate rigging systems.
Yeah. What is rigging?
Rigging is basically like ropes and pulleys and stuff like that to control the direction and the speed of the fall.
So it's not just like they're cutting it down. They're kind of like orchestrating the whole thing.
It's like a ballet of tree felling. It's amazing to watch. And it's years of experience. It's specialized tools to make sure that that tree comes down in a controlled way.
Okay. So size is number one. What about location?
Location.
Right, Bill.
Always important with real estate.
Yeah.
And it's just as important with trees. So look at the tree and think, okay, how close is this to my house, to my garage, to my shed, to my neighbor's fence?
Yeah. Anything you don't want to see completely destroyed.
Right, exactly. And the podcast host mentioned this one specific thing, which I thought was really interesting, which is power lines.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of times you don't even think about that.
Right.
But he had this story about someone who almost took down power lines, and he was saying, the bill for that could be 5 figures.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So if there's any chance at all that the tree could hit power lines or any structure that you or your neighbors value,
Yeah.
that's a big sign that you need to call a professional.
Okay, so we've got size, we've got location. What else?
This one can be a little tricky because you can't always see it, which is hidden health issues.
Okay.
So a tree might look perfectly healthy on the outside. It's got green leaves. It looks strong and solid.
Look at all its leaves.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But on the inside, it could be really weak.
Oh, wow.
It could have rot. It could have disease.
So you can't tell just by looking at it.
You can't always tell. And the host was talking about how, sometimes you'll see a seemingly healthy tree and it'll just snap.
Oh, my God.
Unexpectedly during the cutting because it was so weak on the inside.
And that's the kind of thing that a professional would be able to spot.
Right. They have the training. They have tools. They might send a climber up there to look at it.
Right.
They might use some kind of diagnostic tool to see what's going on inside the tree.
Okay, so it might look healthy, but it might not be.
Another big one is lean.
Okay.
So if you've got a tree that's leaning and it's leaning towards your house or another structure, that's a big problem.
It's like gravity is already working against you.
Right. Gravity is not your friend in that situation. And unless you have some really specialized rigging knowledge and experience, you're probably not going to be able to control that fall.
So, like, how do the pros deal with a leaning tree?
Oh, they have all sorts of cool techniques. They can do something called directional felling, where they'll cut these notches in a very specific way to try to like guide the tree
Oh, wow.
as it falls, or they might even like section the tree down piece by piece
Oh, wow.
in a very controlled manner.
So they're basically like disassembling it.
Yeah, it's like tree surgery.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got size, we've got location, we've got hidden problems, we've got lean. Anything else?
One more thing, which might not be the most obvious thing, but it's really important, which is regulations.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of places have rules about cutting down trees,
Right.
especially like mature trees or trees on property lines.
So you can't just like decide to cut down any tree on your property.
You might need a permit. You might need to like notify your neighbors or get their permission.
Oh, wow.
And if you don't do that, you can get fined.
Oh, really?
You can get into legal trouble. You can get into disputes with your neighbors.
Yeah, so that's something I guess like a professional would know.
Right. A professional is going to know all the local rules and regulations, and they'll be able to handle all that for you.
So they'll make sure you're not going to get in trouble, basically.
Exactly. It's part of their service.
Okay, so I think we've made a pretty good case for when to call in a pro. But I know what some people might be thinking. They might be thinking, oh, it's going to be so expensive
Sure.
to have someone do this, you know? So what about the cost-benefit analysis? Like, is it really worth it?
That's a good question. And yes, professional tree removal can be expensive,
Right.
but you have to weigh that against the potential costs of doing it yourself and having it go wrong.
Right.
So if you damage your property, you damage your neighbor's property, you hurt yourself, like those costs can add up really quickly.
Yeah, they can be way more than what you would have paid a professional.
Exactly. And there's also the intangible cost of like stress and hassle.
Right.
If you hire a professional, you know the job's going to get done.
Right.
It's going to get done safely. It's going to get done efficiently. They're going to clean up the mess.
Right.
You're paying for their expertise. You're paying for their peace of mind.
Yeah, so basically you're paying for the lack of a headache.
Exactly.
Okay, so just to kind of wrap things up here,
Yeah.
can you just remind our listeners, what are the key things that should make them think, maybe I should call a professional?
Sure. So if the tree is big, taller than your house, wider than your car,
Got it.
if it's close to anything important, like your neighbor's house power lines,
Right.
if you think there might be hidden problems like rot or disease,
Okay.
if it's leaning,
Right.
and if you're not sure about the rules and regulations in your area,
Yeah.
those are all signs that it's time to call in the experts.
Basically, if it feels sketchy.
Yeah, if you have any doubt at all,
Yeah.
call a professional.
And don't forget the pros. They have the equipment,
Right.
the skills, and the insurance.
The insurance is important.
Yeah, if something goes wrong,
Right, they're covered.
yeah, and you're not.
You're not. So it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Well, I think this has been a really interesting deep dive into a topic that, honestly, I didn't realize was so complicated.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it, it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it seems like, oh, you just cut down a tree.
But there's actually a lot to it.
There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah. And it can be really dangerous.
It can be.
So listeners, next time you're looking at a tree in your yard,
Yeah.
think about this conversation. And before you even start up that chainsaw,
Yeah.
really ask yourself, is this something I should be doing myself?
Right. Am I feeling lucky?
Yeah. Are you feeling lucky? Do you want to risk it?
Because it's not worth the risk?
Or do you want to call in a professional and have them take care of it safely and efficiently?
Right.
It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.
Bye.